The night had that kind of stillness that only comes when it rains, soft, endless, and a little bit lonely. The sound of water on the windows blended with the quiet hum of the fridge, the faint ticking of a clock that always seemed a second too slow. She'd turned off the TV hours ago but hadn't gone to bed. The house was too silent for sleep. Daniel had left that morning, suitcase in one hand, travel mug in the other. He kissed her cheek and said, "Back Friday. Don't forget to eat." She smiled, nodded, pretended she wasn't already counting the days. She wandered from room to room that evening like she was looking for something she'd misplaced, not keys, not a phone, just warmth. The kind that used to fill the space when he was still around. She opened the fridge, stared at leftovers she didn't want, and sighed. Her reflection in the microwave door looked as tired as she felt. So she ordered food, not because she was hungry, but because she wanted to hear a voice that wasn't hers. Something simple. Something normal. Her finger hovered over the app longer than it should have. She picked the first restaurant that offered delivery despite the storm warning blinking at the top of the screen. 30 to 40 minutes. The rain grew heavier. The city outside her window blurred, streetlights dissolving into golden streaks. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rolled, low and lazy. When the doorbell finally rang, it startled her. She hesitated a second, tightening her robe around her. The mirror near the door caught her reflection again, hair loose, eyes tired, lips parted in that uncertain half-smile of someone who hasn't spoken in hours. She opened the door, and there he was. He stood under the porch light, soaked through, his dark jacket glistening with rain. The paper bag in his hands was tucked close to his chest, as if he was shielding it from the weather. "Sorry," he said, breath misting in the cold air. "The storm slowed me down." His voice was calm, quiet, almost careful. She could smell the rain on him, the sharpness of wet asphalt, and something else she couldn't name. "It's fine," she said quickly, stepping back. "You must be freezing." He smiled, a small, unpracticed thing. "Comes with the job." She reached out to take the bag. Their fingers brushed, just barely, but it was enough to make her heart skip. A jolt, like static, small but impossible to ignore. "You can come in for a second," she said, almost without thinking. "Just until the rain eases." He hesitated. The light flickered above them, and thunder rumbled again, closer this time. Then he stepped inside. The smell of rain followed him in, filling the small kitchen as she set the food on the counter. "Do you do this often?" he asked. "What?" "Invite strangers in." She smiled faintly. "Only the ones who look like they need it." He looked at her for a second too long. Then, softly, "Maybe I do." The clock ticked on. The rain kept falling. And though nothing had really happened yet, something already had. Something quiet, electric, and impossible to take back. He lingered near the door, shifting his weight like someone torn between manners and instinct. She offered him a towel, half laughing, trying to sound casual even as her pulse fluttered. He hesitated, then took it, his fingers brushing hers just long enough to leave a trace of warmth. The air smelled of rain and takeout food, steam fogged the small hallway mirror. "You can wait a few minutes," she said. "It's pouring." "Only if it's not trouble." "It's not." He sat by the counter while she poured tea. The storm outside deepened, wind moving through the gutters, the house humming in reply. "You get storms like this often?" he asked. "Not like this," she said. "Usually they pass." He smiled at that, a slow, easy curve that felt heavier than the words. For a while, they talked about nothing, late deliveries, the city, the way rain makes time slow down. She caught herself watching how he spoke, calm, quiet, thoughtful. He looked older when the lightning flashed across his face, younger when he smiled again. Her tea grew cold. His phone buzzed once, another order, but he ignored it. "I should go," he said finally, standing. "Work." She nodded, though part of her wanted to say stay. He reached for the door, then paused, turning back. You shouldn't open the door to strangers. I usually don't. Then why tonight? The question hung between them. She didn't answer. He looked at her for a heartbeat longer, the rain light sliding across his face. Then he smiled again, not polite this time, not practiced, and stepped into the storm. When the door closed, the house felt too empty, too still. His shadow still clung faintly to the wall, a reminder that some storms don't end when the rain stops. The next morning, the rain was gone, but the silence stayed. The house felt different, as if the air remembered him. She made coffee, scrolled through her phone, tried to settle into the routine of normal. But when something breaks the quiet once, it never sounds the same again. By noon, she'd almost convinced herself it had been nothing, just a stranger, a delivery, a moment stretched too long. Then her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hope your dinner wasn't cold. Her breath caught. She stared at the screen, heartbeat in her throat. She should have ignored it, that's what anyone else would do. But she typed before she could think. It wasn't. Thanks again. A few minutes passed. Then another message. Rain stopped. She smiled before she could stop herself. Yeah. Finally. But I kinda liked it better yesterday. Her fingers froze on the keyboard. The words were simple, harmless on the surface, but there was something behind them, something she recognized. She didn't reply. But she read the message again. And again. That night, Daniel called from his hotel room. How's the house? He asked. Still raining? She looked at the phone on the table, that one unread message glowing faintly. No, she said softly. Clear skies. After the call, she stood by the window, watching the reflection of her own face in the glass, tired, distant, caught between what was and what almost happened. Outside, the street was dry. But somewhere in her chest, the rain hadn't stopped at all. It came 2 nights later. She'd just turned off the lights, the house dipped in that quiet that feels both safe and lonely. Then, knock, knock. Soft. Familiar. Her heart jumped before her mind could reason. She stood still in the dark for a long second, hoping it was the wind, a branch, anything else. But the sound came again, slow, certain. When she opened the door, he was there. Same jacket, same quiet look, same faint, knowing smile. I think you forgot this, he said, holding up a paper bag. I didn't order anything tonight. I know. His smile widened slightly. But it's still warm. He stepped closer, rain clinging to his shoulders again, just a drizzle this time, soft, almost gentle. She took the bag, her fingers brushing his once more. That same spark, quiet, real, lit in her chest. You shouldn't be here, she whispered. I know, he said. But you didn't block my number. The honesty of it hit harder than it should have. She tried to laugh, to make it lighter. That's not an invitation. Didn't say it was. He glanced past her, into the house, the dim kitchen, the flicker of a candle she hadn't bothered to blow out. His gaze lingered there, then came back to her. You were reading? Trying to. Bad book? Just, quiet company. He nodded slowly, then tilted his head toward the rain. It's colder tonight. She hesitated, then said softly, you can come in for a minute. He stepped inside, slower this time, like he knew what that meant. The sound of the door closing behind him seemed louder than thunder. He handed her the bag, their hands brushing again, longer this time. Inside, the house felt smaller, the space between them thinner. Neither spoke. The only sound was the faint drip of rain from his jacket onto the floor. Do you ever stop working? She asked finally, just to break the air. He smiled. Only when someone opens the door twice. She should have told him to leave then. Instead, she poured 2 cups of tea. Steam rose between them, slow and pale. The kitchen light was dim, soft enough to hide the tremor in her hands as she passed him the cup. He took it carefully, his fingers brushing hers again, the touch brief but electric. "You always make tea for delivery guys?" he asked, smiling. "Only when they bring the wrong order twice." He laughed quietly. "Maybe I just like getting lost." They talked about nothing again, work, weather, traffic. He told her how the city never sleeps, how he likes the quiet roads after midnight. She told him she used to love the sound of rain. Used to. Outside, thunder rolled in the distance, low and tired. He turned his cup slowly in his hands, eyes lowered, like he was trying not to stare. "You should sit," she said. He hesitated, then did. The air thickened. Words slowed. The hum of the fridge filled the pauses they didn't know how to close. "You ever feel like you're waiting for something," she said quietly, "but you don't know what?" He looked up, meeting her eyes. "Every day." She smiled, then looked away. Her tea had gone cold. His too. Neither moved to drink it. The candle on the counter flickered, throwing small shadows that swayed between them. He glanced at it, then back at her. "You should blow that out," he said. "It's not safe." "Maybe I don't want safe tonight." The words hung there, fragile and dangerous. For a moment, the only sound was the soft tap of rain returning against the window. Then he leaned forward, just enough for her to feel his breath when he spoke. "Then what do you want?" She didn't answer. But she didn't look away either. The storm outside deepened, thunder low and restless. He set his cup down slowly, eyes still on her, like he was waiting for a reason to stay. She wanted to give him one, or maybe she already had. The air felt charged, the kind of silence that hums before lightning. She stood, pretending to tidy the counter, but every move felt too deliberate, too aware. He stepped closer, not enough to touch, but enough that she could feel the warmth from his jacket still damp from rain. "You should really go before it gets worse," she said, her voice soft, unsure if she meant the weather or what was happening between them. "Maybe it's already worse," he replied. She turned, and suddenly they were inches apart. The flicker of the candle caught in his eyes, calm, waiting, knowing. "You don't even know me," she whispered. He smiled, barely. "Maybe I don't need to." It should have ended there, a look, a breath, a line not crossed. But the thunder rolled again, and when the lights flickered, she felt his hand brush her arm, slow, steady, almost careful. Every sound in the house vanished. Just rain, and two people standing too close in a moment that didn't belong to either of them. "I should," she started, but her words trailed off. He didn't move. The distance between them dissolved like mist, slow and inevitable. For a heartbeat, she closed her eyes. The world tilted, quiet, fragile, wrong in all the right ways. When she opened them again, he was still there, close enough that she could see the reflection of the candle flame trembling in his eyes. Neither spoke. They didn't have to. The candlelight trembled, painting the kitchen walls in gold and shadow. He stood so close now that she could feel the heat of his breath, the faint smell of rain still clinging to his shirt. The hum of the refrigerator, the tap of rain, the sound of her own heartbeat, everything else faded into that stillness between them. She told herself to step back. To say something light, something safe. But her body didn't listen. Instead, she asked quietly, "Do you ever wonder what brings people to your door?" He looked at her for a long time, searching her face. "Maybe it's not about the food," he said. "Maybe they just don't want to eat alone." She smiled faintly, sad, honest. "You shouldn't say things like that." "Why not?" "Because someone might believe you." For a moment, neither moved. The air between them thickened, filled with the things they weren't saying. Her hand brushed his when she reached for the counter, just a graze, but it burned like contact. He whispered, "It's late." "Yeah. I should go." "Probably." But he didn't move. And neither did she. The flame bent sideways with the draft from the window, the light breaking across their faces. His fingers lifted slightly, like he wanted to tuck her hair behind her ear, but stopped halfway, hesitating, caught between want and restraint. She tilted her head just enough for his hand to find its place. Her skin shivered under his touch. He didn't say a word. In that fragile second, the house didn't exist, only that warmth, that closeness, that dangerous quiet. Then thunder cracked again, sharp, sudden, real, and she stepped back, breath uneven. "I should go to sleep," she murmured. He nodded slowly. "Yeah. You should." But neither reached for the door. The candle flickered once more, then went out on its own. For a while, they just stood there, in the dark, with only the sound of rain tapping against the window. The faint smell of wax lingered in the air where the candle had died, sweet and smoky, wrapping the silence between them. She could barely make out his face now, just the outline of him, tall, steady, still. Her voice came out barely above a whisper. "I didn't mean to keep you." "I don't think you did," he said quietly. "I think I stayed." Something in his tone made her chest tighten. It wasn't what he said, it was how he said it, like there was something inevitable about it. Like the choice had already been made long before the words came out. Lightning flashed through the window, and for a second she saw him clearly, his hair still damp, his eyes fixed on hers, soft but unrelenting. And that was it. The last warning. The last chance to pretend she didn't know what she was doing. He took a step closer. She didn't move. Another. Now she could feel the warmth of him again, the way her breath seemed to stumble just to keep up. "Tell me to go," he said quietly. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. So he stayed. The next flash of lightning cut through the room, white and brief, their shadows merged against the wall. Her fingers trembled when he reached for her hand, but she didn't pull away. There was no rush, no sound, just the weight of what they both already knew. The storm outside grew louder, but it wasn't the only one. And when he finally touched her cheek, she didn't stop him. Because some lines don't disappear. They fade, until you're already standing past them. The next thunder rolled like a warning neither of them heard. He was standing so close now that the space between them felt unreal, fragile, almost weightless. The soft rhythm of rain filled the pause that neither dared to break. She could see the tiny drops clinging to his hair, the way they caught the dim light and shimmered like something alive. His hand hovered near her face, uncertain, waiting, and when she finally looked up, the hesitation ended. The first touch wasn't planned. It never is. His fingers brushed along her jaw, tracing the line of her cheek, slow enough to let her stop him. She didn't. Her breath hitched, quiet but sharp, the sound swallowed by the rain outside. He whispered something she couldn't catch, or maybe he didn't speak at all. Maybe it was just the silence saying what they both already knew. When he leaned in, she felt the world narrow, the air, the light, the space between them collapsing into a single heartbeat. His lips barely met hers, soft at first, uncertain. Then again, slower, steadier, the kind of kiss that doesn't ask permission, but waits to be returned. And she did. For a moment, everything around them disappeared, no kitchen, no storm, no names. Just warmth, the press of skin, the tremble of a decision already made. When they finally pulled apart, the air felt different, heavier, quieter, charged with everything that couldn't be undone. She looked at him, wide-eyed, as if realizing what just happened. He exhaled, voice low, steady. "I shouldn't have done that." She shook her head slightly. "Then why did it feel like I wanted you to?" He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Outside, the rain kept falling, but it sounded softer now, like it understood what had broken inside that house. He didn't speak at first, neither did she. The air between them felt heavy, humming with something that couldn't be named anymore. The storm outside had quieted, but the storm inside hadn't. She turned away, pretending to fix the curtain, her hands shaking just enough for him to notice. "You should go," she said softly, not looking back. "I know," he replied. But he didn't move. His reflection lingered in the window beside hers, two blurred outlines, too close to separate. She could still feel the warmth of his touch on her cheek, the ghost of a kiss that hadn't quite left. He took a breath, the kind that sounds like it's supposed to break the silence but doesn't. "You don't owe me anything," he said. "I know. And I don't want to make this harder." "It already is," she whispered. Her voice cracked on the last word, and that was enough to pull him back a step closer. He didn't touch her this time, not really, just stood there, close enough that she could feel the heat from his skin again. "Tell me this doesn't mean anything," he said quietly. She opened her mouth, but nothing came. He waited. She stayed silent. Finally, he smiled, small, tired, real. "That's what I thought." When he reached for the doorknob, she almost stopped him. Almost. But all she managed was, "It's still raining." He looked back once, rainlight catching in his eyes. "Yeah," he said. "Some storms don't stop. They just move inside." The door closed behind him, gentle, deliberate. She stayed where she was, eyes fixed on the reflection in the glass, her own face, and behind it, the empty space where he'd been. The night stretched long after he left, but she didn't sleep. Every sound in the house, the ticking clock, the rain returning, the creak of the floor, felt like him. Like his voice still lingered in the corners, refusing to fade. She replayed it in her head, the look on his face before he turned the handle, the way his hand hesitated on the door like he wanted to say more but knew he couldn't. And her own silence, heavy, deliberate, the kind that hides more truth than words ever could. In the mirror by the stairs, she caught her reflection and didn't recognize it. Her lips were still slightly parted, her eyes softer, her hair falling loose like she hadn't noticed. It wasn't guilt yet, not quite. It was something else. Something quieter, like the moment after lightning when the sky is still deciding whether to break again. She sat on the couch, staring at the paper bag he'd left on the counter, the logo smeared from his wet hands. Inside, she found an unopened cookie, still wrapped, and beneath it, a folded napkin. A number. No name. Her fingers trembled as she held it. She told herself she'd throw it away. That it meant nothing. But she didn't. She left it on the table beside her, like proof that it all actually happened. And for the first time in years, she felt something she couldn't quite name. Not happiness. Not regret. Just the dangerous calm that comes after crossing a line and realizing there's no going back. Sunlight crept through the blinds like it didn't belong there, too soft, too kind for the kind of night she'd had. The storm had passed, but the house still smelled faintly of rain and tea. She sat at the kitchen table, still in the same sweater, the same silence, the same thoughts looping quietly like a song she couldn't turn off. Daniel called early. His voice came through the speaker warm, tired, familiar. "Morning," he said. "You sleep okay?" "Yeah," she lied. "Just a long night." He chuckled. "Always is when I'm gone, huh?" She smiled, because it was easier than answering. He talked about the hotel coffee, the meetings, the drive home later that day, normal things, ordinary things, things that used to make her feel safe. But her mind wasn't in the call. It was in the echo of a knock that shouldn't have happened, a voice that sounded different in the dark, a name she never asked for. Her eyes drifted to the napkin on the counter, the one with his number, now slightly wrinkled from where she'd held it too long. She told herself to throw it away. To start over. To be the version of herself she was before that delivery, that rain, that night. But she didn't move. The sunlight reached the napkin, lighting it up like it wanted her to look. And she did. Because pretending she hadn't changed wouldn't make it true. She took a breath, long, uneven, honest. Her phone buzzed again, another message from Daniel. "See you tonight. Miss you." Her thumb hovered over the screen. She typed back, "Miss you too." Then deleted it. The rain started again, light and distant. Outside, a delivery bike passed by, its hum fading down the street. She closed her eyes and pressed the napkin flat against the table, not to read it, not to call, just to feel it. Because some people don't steal from you. They leave something behind, a silence that doesn't go away. And a part of you that no longer belongs where it used to.